Hello again. Today we are talking about factoring and simplifying rational expressions. Okay? So let's say I have 27 x to the fourth over 9x to the third. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out the prime factorization of 27x to the fourth, which would be 3 times 3 times 3 times x times x times x times x. And I'm going to put that over the prime factorization of 9x to the third, which will be 3 times 3 times x times x times x. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for things that cancel on the top and the bottom, because anything divided by itself is 1, right? So I'm going to cancel those 3's and those 3's and those x's, and those x's. Okay? So what that does is notice that there's nothing left on the bottom that isn't crossed off. So I will say that that is 1. And what's left on top is 3 times x. So I would say that my simplified version of this would be 3x over 1. But anything over 1 is just itself, so I will say that the simplified version is 3x. Well, here I have 5x to the third over 5x times x minus 2. Now, if I write out my prime factorization, this is going to be 5 times x times x times x over 5 times x minus 2. All right? So x minus 2 is a factor. Remember that. So let's look for what I can cancel on the top and the bottom. I can cross off those 5's and I can cross off those x's. And notice on the top I am left with x times x, and on the bottom I am left with x minus 2. Because x minus 2 itself is a factor, I can't cancel this x and this x. Those are not able to cancel one another because x minus 2 is a factor. So I would write this out as x times x, which is x squared over, and on the bottom I have x minus 2. And that's how you factor and simplify that expression. So here I have 15x to the third plus 25x all over 45x to the fifth. So my first step in a problem like this is going to be to factor out of this binomial on top anything I can. So what can I factor out of 15x to the third? Well, 15 and 25 can both be divided by 5. And I notice that there is an x in both of the terms, and the lowest exponent being 1, I will leave it as 5x. And now what happens when I divide 15x to the third by 5x? I get 3x squared. So I will put 3x squared here, plus what is 25x divided by 5x? Well, these x's cancel, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. So this is plus 5. And on the bottom, since there's one term on the bottom, I will find the prime factorization of 45x to the fifth. The prime factorization of 45x to the fifth is 3 times 3 times 5 times x times x times x times x times x. Now let's see what we can cancel on the top and the bottom. Well, this 5 and this 5 cancel, and this x and this x cancel. This 3 here will not cancel with these 3's because 3x squared plus 5 in itself is a factor. So what's left? Well, on top I have 3x squared plus 5, and on the bottom I have 3 times 3, which is 9, and x times x times x times x, and that's x to the fourth power. So on the bottom I have 9x to the fourth power. And that's how you factor and simplify that rational expression.